Hi guys, welcome to another session on Protector. My name is Karanveer Singh. So let's have a quick recap of what we did in the last video. In the last video, we understood the action class and we understood the keyword element.all. Let's move on to the topics that we are going to cover in this video. So in this video, we are going to understand synchronization and asynchronization from two perspectives. That is, first is from the application perspective and then from Protector perspective. Let's begin with the application perspective first. So let me just open Paint. And now we are going to understand this synchronization and asynchronization from the application perspective, guys. So let me just draw this here, right? Let us assume this is a web application where we can actually upload a video, right? So what I'll do is I'll write a title here, which is title. And then let me just add a input box here. So this is an input box where you can add a title for your video, right? Then I can, let's say, description, and let me just add another input box for description, right? Then let me just add, let's say, video. So this is basically where we can add a video. And let me just give a bigger section here because we want to add a video, right? And let me just search. Okay, okay, we can do this. So this is how you can upload a video, right? You can drag and drop or do anything, right? And then we have a button here which says, and let me just put the text in here, which says upload, right? So, and let me just increase the size, font size, so that it is visible to all. And let's just place it in the center. So these are the things that I have in the web application, right? So guys, now we are understanding here synchronization and asynchronization. So synchronization basically means things happening step by step. That is, let's say I upload a video, I enter a title, I enter description, I add a video, and I upload. I click on this upload. What happens is my whole page is disabled, right? Let me just quickly do this. What happens as soon as I do it, everything is disabled. I cannot perform any action. Basically what has happened is all the things have been stopped. Everything is in an order. Now if I try to explain you through the code, now let's say the code would somewhat be, okay, let me just change the color. I want to upload something, right? If I want to, let's say there's a function which says upload video, right? So this is the function that I'm calling, and as soon as I call this function, as soon as I click the button on upload, what happens is, let me just write print ln, and it says uploading video, right? So this is my function, upload function. So what happens with this upload function is that everything is blocked. As soon as I added a video, I added a title, description, and I click on upload, everything got blocked. The page got stuck, or maybe I'm just shown say a loading bar somewhere, which tells me that I need to wait for the whole video to get uploaded. So basically all these steps are sequential, right? I add this description, video, title, and then I click on upload, and my thread, the single thread, has been blocked now. What is happening? The video is getting uploaded. So this is called as synchronization, where I need to wait for the execution to happen, right? Where I need to wait for the execution to be completely executed, because it is a sequential step. I just have a single thread, and that thread is being executed as of now. Okay, so let me just move this here, right? So now what I will do is I will select this whole again. Now let's understand what is asynchronization, and I'll just copy it here, right? Okay, so my upload function will get erased, but no worries, we'll write it again then, right? And now what happens is, yep, now let's try to change the color. Let me just, yes, do this. right? So what happens now is, guys, so now we are going to talk about asynchronization. So what happens in asynchronization is I enter some title, right? I enter some title, I enter some description, I upload the video, and as soon as I click on upload, the page is not stuck, right? The page does not freeze. Instead, what happens is over here, let me just add a text. Instead, I am given a URL. Okay. Instead, what happens is I'm now given a URL. It says HTTPS or maybe anything, right? HTTPS automation learning hut, right? Something like this. Now what happens is I'm just given a URL and I'm still able to edit my description. I can make some changes here. I can change the title. Maybe there are a few settings which I can do. So basically what I can do is I can perform the actions, right? So now what happens is the thread is not blocked. This is a single thread where some actions are being performed, and then there are something else. The page is still available for the editing part. I can still perform few more actions. So guys, if you remember, there was a time when we used to have an application like this where on upload the page used to get stuck. But now, and that was called synchronization. But now we have moved away from that approach, and now we have followed the approach. We are moving, or maybe for few of the applications, we are already in that approach where we are in the asynchronization, where you can perform multiple things simultaneously. That means the upload function is performed in the background, whereas I can still continue with the other actions which are available. Right? In synchronization, I could not. I could just perform one action at one time, whereas in asynchronization, this upload function is called in the background, right? This upload function is called in the background, and I'm still able to perform this. So now let's understand. So this was all from the application perspective, guys. Now let's understand it from the protector perspective. So I've just switched back to Visual Studio Code. And if you remember, guys, we have been using this keyword await, right? So let me just remove this keyword await from everywhere. We'll understand in this video why do we need await, and we'll also understand what is this async. Let me just remove this async from here as well. Okay, so guys, if we talk about languages like JavaScript and TypeScript, these are asynchronous languages. These are asynchronous languages. What means by asynchronous languages is, so first let's understand what is synchronized language. Like Java is a synchronized language. You all might know, right, that in Java, each step is performed. First, this step will, line number 8 will be performed, then line number 9 will be performed, then 10, then 11, then 12. This is not the case with JavaScript and TypeScript. These are asynchronous languages. That means it can first perform 8 or it might first perform 9, right? There is no sequence, but we need to create these sequences. If we want, we have to create these sequences. How can these sequences be created? We'll see that. But basically, this is what is called as an asynchronization language. So TypeScript and JavaScript both are asynchronized languages, whereas Java is a synchronized language where each step is executed just after the next one, right? So guys, as I said that TypeScript and JavaScript both are asynchronous languages. Now let's see how to actually work on them, right? So guys, we won't do it here. Let's do it here. Now let's say, and let me just remove this away from here. Now let's say I first want to click, right? We want to perform these action in the sequential way. I first want to click on the login button, then I want to enter the username, right? This is what I want. So what I can do is, in JavaScript and in TypeScript, we have a function which is called .den. What is this? This is a the promise resolver. Right now, let's understand what is a promise resolver. Let me do one thing. Before we start altering the script, let me just do one thing. I'll start consoling here just to see whether this is a sequential one or not. I'll say console.log and I'll say over action will be performed. Let me just copy this. Let me just add it here. We'll also remove this browser.sleep from here and from here. So I say hover action will be performed. I'll here say click action will be performed, and I'll press enter, and I will say send keys. Right, so guys, there is one more thing which I did, which is I clicked here and I've created an X path for this email or mobile phone number just to verify whether I'm landing on this page or not. So what we'll do is I'll just console.log, and what I'll do is I'll get a text. How? Let's see. I'll say, and I named that element as email label. From email label, if I just press click, I have this function which says get text. This is a method, right? This is a method through which we can get the text. Now guys, if I hover on this, if you see, this is a promise method. This is a method which returns a promise of type string. But for first, we won't resolve this promise. Let's understand what is synchronization and asynchronization first. Let's see whether these scripts are being executed in the same order. That is, first it hovers, then it clicks, then it will print me the text, and then will it say send keys. Right, first let's see this. So I'll start the execution. So I've started the execution. Now let's just wait for Chrome to be opened. So here Chrome has been opened. Let's just see there. We know these will be performed. Right, so it says send keys has been performed. We got a error here, and if we read the error, it says managed promise. So the error is related to promise, right? And this is a very big, okay. And we get click will be performed, hover will be performed. So the script is very small, right? The actions, the count of these actions are very small. That is why it is being performed in the sequential order. But if we had few more steps, the order might have altered. Right, but if you see that we got an error here which says manage promise, right? If I just scroll it down a little more, and if I show it to you, it says managed promise. So there is something related to promise which I need to do in order to get this text, right? And why do we need that? Because TypeScript and JavaScript both are asynchronized languages, right? We need to define it. So guys, as you can see this, here we had a promise, right? We had it is returning me a promise which is of type string. So guys, in order to make these steps sequential, right, we need to resolve the promises. Now there are two ways to resolve the promises. First, let's understand the vintage way of doing it, right? We need to, if I just click on dot, you see that we get two options. One is catch and one is then. Let's read it. Registers the listener for when this instance is resolved. So basically, whenever this instance will get resolved, then function will be used only when the promise is resolved. So the param is on fulfilled. That means whenever this is being fulfilled, whenever the protector is able to click, then what it can do is, then it can perform further actions, right? So now what we can do further is, then I can call in the function here, and what I can do is, we need to do it like this, and then let's say I write here text, then I'll say get me the text. Dot email label dot get text. Now guys, get text in itself is a promise function which is returning me a promise. So now if I have to further perform an action, I again need to resolve this, and that is how I can do is, I can do then I'll say text. So I'll use the fat arrow function here, and I'll do this here again, and then I can say console.log, and I'll say print me the text. So let me just now comment this out, right? And let's execute this once again, and now let's see what happens. So we have started the execution now. We're just waiting for the Chrome to be opened. Now let's just go back here. See, we did not get that error, right? But we didn't even get the outcome. So what, and why is that so? Because you're doing this. So let me just comment this out as well. And let's just remove this as well and execute it once again. So let's wait for this text. Let's just stay in the Visual Studio Code and let's just read the terminal. Okay, okay, again, we didn't get it. So let's just see the execution now, what is happening. It says click action will be performed, it says send keys will be performed. Let's just see what is happening. Okay, so there is some time issue, right? Yep, this is one more example why we need to resolve everything, right? Why do we need to resolve everything? Because this is taking time, right? Now the script is being executed, as I said earlier, right? TypeScript is an asynchronized language. The script has already been executed, but the page never got opened, right? So this is what we need to resolve in TypeScript. These are what promises does. This is what the keyword async and await does. So guys, this was one way. Okay, let me do one thing. In order to execute this, let me make this as an async function. We'll go in steps and we'll write await here. And let's just make this as also as async function. So by asynchronized, we are explicitly telling that this is an asynchronized function. This is a function which does not have any synchronization, and we are synchronizing it by ourselves by resolving the promises. So now let's execute this. And now let's see what happens. So guys, this is not the case in Java, right? If you call this function, the lines will get executed. But again, we are getting the same thing. See, the application is still opening, but everything got printed here. Why? Because the steps were already executed, whereas the page was yet not loaded properly. So this is what JavaScript and TypeScript are. These are asynchronized languages. These steps do not perform in the sequential manner. So guys, if we talk about resolving the errors, right, this was how we used to do it in the vintage way. That is by using .then. But since ES06, which is the version of TypeScript, if I show it to you here, we are using ES 2009. And if you see ES6, this is ES6. Since ES6, TypeScript has updated itself, and it says, because see, this is a complex way of doing it, right? This is the complex way where I write then, and then I have a nested then inside. So this was the complex way. So instead of this, TypeScript, the developers of TypeScript added a keyword which is known as await. If I use this keyword await, this acts as a promise resolver. Like in case the promise is being resolved, we use the keyword then, right? So this then is being replaced by await. I'm saying that this will get resolved, right? I'm assuring that this will get resolved. And I'll do this, click, right? And we can remove. See, you can see how much nesting it started to create, right? There were too much of nested code that was about to be written now. And if this is a application or a framework which has too many things in it, then of course it will be too much messy, right? So let's just remove this from here. Let's just bring it here and let's keep it with await. And let me just paste it here, right? And let me just do, okay. So what I can do is I can remove this from here. I can uncomment this and I can just add await here. Why? Because this text is a promise function. So guys, most of the thing, 90% of the functions in TypeScript and JavaScript are promise functions. That means it returns a promise. So we need to resolve the promise. And that promise can either be resolved by using .then or by using this await keyword, right? Let me just write await here too. And now let's start the execution. So this await means do not perform the next step until this function has been called. Right, now let's see. See, now it has clicked, it entered, and now you can see I even got the text. Right, it says email or mobile phone number. So by using this await, I'm explicitly telling it do not move to the next line of code until this is being executed. If I had not used await, then it meant run these lines in whatsoever way you want to run. But await, by explicitly mentioning await and making this function as async, I'm explicitly telling it do not run the next line of code until this line has been executed. Similarly, do not run the next line of code until this line has been executed. So guys, this was all for asynchronization and synchronization. I hope you find it interesting and I hope you've learned something new. This was all for this video, guys. Thank you so much.